I get it, you're staring at a handful of tiny refrigerators and wondering which one actually earns your hard-earned money, especially when the thing you're storing is a life-saving vaccine. You've probably seen a dozen listings, read the glossy specs, and still feel that knot of doubt. What if this one looks good on paper, but can't keep my doses at the right temperature? What if I end up spending a fortune on a unit that ends up being more trouble than it's worth? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the real-world considerations for the Summit Compact Vaccine Refrigerator, ARS-1PV456, so you can decide whether it truly fits your practice or if you're better off looking elsewhere. First off, the most critical question for anyone buying a vaccine fridge is compliance. The Summit unit is certified to NSF/ANSI 456, the standard that pharmacies, clinics, and research labs rely on to prove they're keeping vaccines within the 2C to 8C range. That certification isn't just a badge. It's a requirement for regulatory inspections and for maintaining the cold chain integrity that vaccine manufacturers demand. In other words, if you need a fridge that will pass an audit, this model checks the box. The next practical factor is security. The refrigerator comes with a factory-installed lock, which means you can restrict access to authorized staff only. In a busy clinic where multiple people come and go, that lock can prevent accidental temperature excursions caused by someone opening the door and leaving it ajar. It also gives you a simple way to log who accessed the unit, something many larger pharmacy refrigerators handle with built-in audit trails. But the Summit gives you a low-tech solution that works just as well. Now, let's talk about the interior layout. The shelves are made of plastic-coated wire and are adjustable, which sounds nice until you try to load real vaccine vials, syringes, and sometimes even a small blood bank cooler. The wire design promotes better air circulation, helping the unit maintain a uniform temperature throughout. In practice, that means you won't have hot spots where a vial could drift out of range simply because it's tucked behind a bulkier item. I've seen clinics where the shelves are set low enough to accommodate a single row of vaccine carriers, and the wire coating prevents any rust or corrosion that could contaminate the storage environment. One of the hidden trade-offs you'll notice is capacity. This is a compact unit, which makes it ideal for small pharmacies, urgent care centers, or even a doctor's office that only needs to keep a limited stock of flu shots or COVID boosters. If you run a larger immunization program, the internal volume might feel cramped quickly, and you could end up juggling multiple refrigerators or resorting to a larger, more expensive model. So the size is a strength for tight spaces, but it can be a weakness if your inventory grows beyond what a single shelf can hold. The included certificate of calibration is another practical perk. When you receive the unit, you get paperwork that proves the temperature sensors were calibrated at the factory to meet the standard. That documentation can be filed with your health department or insurance audits, saving you time on paperwork later. However, the fridge does not come with an integrated digital logger or remote temperature alerts. If you rely on real-time monitoring, say, a smartphone notification the moment the temperature drifts, you'll need to add an external data logger or a separate monitoring system. That's an extra cost and a bit of an installation step that some users might overlook. So who should actually consider buying this Summit Compact Vaccine Refrigerator? If you're a small to medium pharmacy that needs a dedicated, compliant fridge for a few hundred doses, this unit hits the sweet spot. It offers the essential certifications, a lock for security, and adjustable shelves that make loading and unloading a breeze. The compact footprint means you can tuck it behind a counter or under a workbench without sacrificing valuable floor space. Clinics that only administer seasonal flu shots or a limited range of pediatric vaccines will find it perfectly adequate. It's also a good match for mobile health units or pop-up vaccination sites where portability and compliance are both non-negotiable. On the flip side, you should skip this model if you run a high-volume immunization center, a hospital pharmacy, or a research lab that needs to store dozens of different temperature-sensitive products simultaneously. The limited interior space and lack of built-in remote monitoring mean you'll either have to purchase accessories or upgrade to a larger, more feature-rich unit. Also, if you were hoping for a plug-and-play temperature logger included out of the box, you'll be disappointed. You'll need to budget for an additional device if real-time alerts are a must for your operation. Let's get into the day-to-day usability. Once you plug the unit in, you'll notice the temperature stabilizes fairly quickly. Most users report reaching the target range within an hour of startup. The control panel is simple. A digital display shows the current temperature, and a couple of buttons let you set the desired range. There's no fancy